How to improve as a player? Now, this is a common question that most students, most players would definitely ask their coaches or teachers or even their peers, in terms of how can I improve as a player as I train towards, say, a competition by itself. So in this video, it will be slightly different from my past videos. You will see me doing my grip of my floorball stick, in fact 2 different floorball sticks, and yet at the same time I'll just talk to you through this voice-over function, and we'll talk it through in terms of how to improve as a player. Now I will break it down into 3 simple points, and you have to listen throughout because every points are related to each other, and just do hear out through the end. But of course, at the same time, you can also take a look at the video clip in terms of how careful and meticulous I have to be in terms of doing up my floorball grip. Are you ready? Then let's start. And point number 1, it would be putting your mind into action. Now, what does putting your mind into action means? Now, of course, if you want to improve as a player, you definitely have to put into actions in terms of practice, in terms of the time and effort. However, if your mind do not set forth to actually tell you and remind you by the fact that you need to actually do something, then it is pointless to just talk about it, or it's pointless to even have your coaches mention to you about it. Now, I do have players, the number of players that I have over the number of years, right? I can times it out and it's a couple of hundreds. Not all players are motivated, and this point is actually very important. Not all players are naturally intrinsically motivated. Now, most of them have to be externally motivated to push them to do certain things or to push them to achieve a certain sort of results. If you want to put your mind into action, you must be first internally motivated to say that yes, this is something that I really want to achieve. This is something that I want to see myself progress forward. And once your mind is determined and once your mind is set forth to say to achieve a certain target at a certain time, then that's where the mind would be converted into actions, and actions would then lead to more practice time, more time set aside to go and learn the game, more focus during training sessions with your coaches, or perhaps also spending a bit of time getting feedback from your peers, from your captains, or from your coaches themselves in terms of the areas of improvement that you can work on. So then, with that first point, we can now lead to our second point. Now, our second point would then be, once you know you need to put your mind into action and you want to do something, but in terms of doing something, you need to be then specific in terms of what else do you want to do or how do you want to do it. Okay, so the second point will revolve around the point of being specific. Now, the question itself from this video, how to improve as a player, is actually a very generic question. Now, often when I have players that comes directly to me, right, they want to put their mind into action and they come and ask me, Coach, how can I improve? How can I improve as a player? And often or not, I'll just roll my eyes a bit, not in a sarcastic way, but in a sense that boy or girl, the question they're asking me is just too general. It's just too broad, and you need to be a lot more specific. And so therefore, I'll explain and reiterate this point a bit further. Now, example, if you were to ask your coach, how can I improve as a player? This is question number 1, which is a lot more broad, versus a question which is slightly more specific, like, Coach, I could not get my shots on target. So how can I improve my accuracy of my shots? So with that question in mind, it has a lot more specificity in terms of it is specific towards shots making, it is specific towards getting the shots on target. And so therefore, the coach can then from there give specific advice in terms of how can you improve your shots accuracy, and therefore, carrying out some exercises to improve that specific part of being accurate in his shots. I give you another example. Another example can be, coach, why am I always falling off? There are actually some players while running and playing, they can actually fall down pretty easily. And with that in mind, often or not, when I see it, or if there's a specific question in mind, like how can I prevent myself from falling over, or how can I get to a specific point to another point as quickly as I can, it might pertain to actually a few simple points, whereby number one, in terms of falling down, it might be more towards the agility and footwork, because some players might not be as playful as they can be when they were young. So as young boys and girls, especially during their infant years, when they are learning how to walk, learning how to run, most of them ought actually go down to the playground, play with neighbors, play with friends, or play with parents. But these days, with the change in the society, people are actually moving lesser and lesser, and so therefore by the time they reach to teenage years, some of their movements are actually not as mobile. So therefore the footwork might be an issue, and with the footwork being an issue, it might actually affect or cause more falling down in the courts as compared to, say, someone else who has a better footwork. And so therefore, because of that specific aspect in mind, so then the solution to it would be doing more ladder drills, doing more agility drills, playing games. And playing games need not be actually just floorball. It can be playing games, other form of games can be actually catching, can actually be other sports, maybe even on a recreational level. But being able to move in a different direction does actually help in terms of your footwork, mobility, and psychomotor. So that's an example of being very specific to the solution, in terms of giving the solution to the problem. Okay, so now once being specific is done, okay, the next thing is, once you know what to do, okay, and you know how to do it, let's say given by the solutions from your coach, the next thing is, which is the third point and the final point from this video, which is to be consistent. Now, be consistent is actually, it sounds very easy. Oh, consistent. Okay, I can be consistent. Let's just do it every day, or do it twice a day, or do it 3 times a week, so on and so forth. But there comes a point where saying is easy, doing is hard. Executing well is actually even harder. Now, just to say that, yes, okay, I'll be consistent, it's just a matter of saying. But to actually really do it, putting time aside, being disciplined enough to know that if, say, there's a specific exercise that you want to train in mind, and you want to set forth to train it 3 times a week, do you really put in 3 times a week of time to go and do it, and across weeks? So therefore there's some form of consistency being formed. Now, habits takes a while to form a habit. Again, habits actually take a longer while to erase the so-called bad habits and to form new habits. And so therefore at times, often in mind, to improve a certain aspect actually needs you to unlearn something, which is unlearn a bad habit, and after which to learn a new habit. And it's not just a one training session thing. So I just give you, for example, I do have a one-on-one coaching with this kid, and he's been with me for about 6, counting down, it's probably actually close to 10 months. So if this does continue on, it'll be close to a year. And this consistency over the months, over the weeks, actually does help him form a certain form of habit, form of reminder from me to him in terms of how to execute his shots, how to protect the ball, how to dribble, how to defend, etc., etc. And the recent tournament that I see him playing, and from the feedback that's given from his dad, we can actually see that he has improved over this past 8 to 10 months. Of course, improving is always continuous, and so therefore this consistency in mind does not only form in terms of one session or a few weeks or a few months. At times, to be actually very, very good at it, you need to form good habits, be consistent at it over years. And with that are the 3 key points on how to improve as a player, and I hope you do enjoy, whether is it me talking to you while watching me doing floorball grips, or rather floorball gripping at the same time. But if you need any tips or any help in terms of how to grip up the floorball grip, do check out the video at the description below, and I hope this video does provide you with some insights in terms of how to improve as a player. With that, do remain and check out the rest of the videos. Sayonara!